Hello and welcome to the first episode of Snowball's Run It Back. All things Valorant will be covered in this weekly podcast coming to you live on Tuesdays. I am joined by the wonderful Avril and Racket, and I should probably introduce myself. My name's Ducky. So glad for everyone who's tuning in. We're really excited to bring you more content about Valorant, especially in the Oceanic region. It's a region that often gets overlooked when you look at other scenes internationally. And so what we hope to do with this podcast is bring the stories of some of Oceanic's best players to the forefront. And also, we'll do our own little meta-analysis and other fun things throughout, the life of the podcast. Hopefully we get a few episodes in before we eventually get the wide cut on us, but we'll try our best. Anyways, before we go in with our guests, let's introduce ourselves. I think that will be a good start. So why don't we start with Avril?
Hey, how's it doing? How are you guys doing, rather? You probably have seen me from the Oceanic Valorant Open, casting that one. I'm also the head coach of the Direwolves Valorant team, so I'm glad to be on here and glad to be back with my friends Racket and Ducky for more podcasting with the Run It Back show. So I have a lot of fun with this show and with future shows.
Yes. Well, instead of just talking about your Valorant background, do you want to give a little bit of a tidbit? You've said you've worked with us in the past, but what was exactly that on?
I've done a few things with you guys, I think, but predominantly it would have been the overtime. Was it overtime? What was it called
Overtime.
Again? Overtime. Yeah. There you go. It's been a while. That was like, it feels like forever ago, if I'm going to be honest.
It was 2018.
Yeah, well, there it is. I was going to say it feels like a year ago, but 2018, really? That's like 2 years ago. Yeah. So, Overtime, the Overwatch podcast, we used to, cover contenders and all that. So, yeah, lots of fun there. So, hoping to do a lot of the same type of content here with Run It Back now in Valorant.
Yeah. What about yourself, Racket?
Well, I'm currently in Valorant myself, doing some casting on a weekly basis. It's been really fun so far. Done it with a little bit of Summoning Society. Some of you guys may have seen me from the Ignition series as well with some of the matches. But before Valorant, I ended up coaching Valorant for Overwatch for like 6 months and casting that game for about a year and a half, I'd say. And also one of the co-hosts of the Overtime podcast. We're all very familiar with each other on this show. We're a very tight bunch, and it's really exciting to be together again.
Yeah, I'll give a quick introduction to myself as well. So I'm Ducky. I'm one of the journalists at Snowball Esports. Primarily got my start in Overwatch. Now I focus on all things Oceanic Esports, whether it be League of Legends, now Valorant. Even I've written about Splatoon 2. So, anything that happens with an Australian going big on the international scene, I love covering. And that's exactly what we're trying to do with Run It Back. And that's exactly what we're going to do with our first guest for tonight's show. He is on Mindfreak, who are the champions of the first open qualifier for Rise of Valor. He was on Coffee. He has placed in the top 16 for both Ignition Series events so far in Oceania. And I heard that he's okay at CSGO. Let's welcome in our guest for this week, the SkitzMACHINE. How are you going, mate? Yeah, it's nice to see you on the show. Now, would you be able to, give us a little introduction to what you were doing before Valorant? Obviously, that's only a few months ago. What's he doing?
Skitz is fixing it up. I can't quite hear him, but I'm sure we'll get that.
He's dancing on the camera.
I was wondering if my ears were busted or something,
Well, while we figure out the text issues, let's talk a little bit. We can talk a little bit between ourselves. Obviously, when we look back at
what do we
happened,
think of Skitz? No.
Yeah, what do we think? Yeah, what do we think? He can hear us and he can see us, but we can. Oh, now he's off screen. All right. Let's talk a little bit about this week. So obviously this week in Oceanic Valorant, we had Rise of Valor, the first two qualifiers. Obviously, Kevin, your team in the Direwolves played and didn't go too flash for you guys.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. So no, I'm just kidding. No, we didn't play at all. So yeah, so we're just I don't know what you're talking about, Ducky. I'm pretty sure Divers didn't play on the weekend at all. At least that's what it looked like to me.
We didn't see you on
And
stream, so
no, we didn't. So if you're not on stream, it
yeah.
doesn't count. That's how
Yeah.
it goes for me. So you have to be on stream for it to be official. So doesn't matter. We'll go next, really.
Yeah. Did you manage to catch some of the games this weekend, Racket?
Yeah, I did. Didn't watch them all, but majority of the games I did end up watching. I think I've watched all of my Freaks matches. The good thing about Twitch is that the VOD's safe, so you can watch it whenever you want. I usually watch them before I go to sleep in my bed.
Yeah.
It's you get the good vibes going. But yeah, I mean, it was different format to Ignition series. The first one as well.
Yeah.
So a little bit of tinkering, of course, and watching from the sidelines. But yeah, it's still an enjoyable weekend nonetheless.
So you're like you got like this VOD queued up. You're in bed like 2 hours before you need to sleep, and you just got this VOD going. Or you're in bed for like a couple hours at a time, Rack. What's
Look,
going
mate,
on?
if the match is good, I won't go to sleep. So
He's got like the audio only playing on like a sleep timer, and that's the dulcet
So
tones.
you're
that he
like doing
listens
the
to.
opposite of like when people wake up and they don't want to get out of bed, so they're just watching some stuff on their phone. You're doing the opposite, where like you do it the other way around before you go to bed. So you're just in bed like way too early. You're in bed super early, but you're just there watching stuff. Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Are there any teams that have taken your fancy, guys, when you've looked at the first, like, obviously now that we've built off OVO and now that we're building to ROV, are there any teams that have surprised you, especially when you look at potentially some teams that may have struggled in OVO but are actually doing all right in ROV?
it's pretty early days though. Like, to be fair, like you don't have enough to go off of right now. Like, I would say if I had to pick, I would say teams like Fury and Overpower Strike and the McTeams and stuff. Those are probably the overlooked teams from OVO that have so far in the qualifiers been getting either deep runs or they've already qualified through. But it's still early days because those brackets can sort of fall many different ways. You don't have any of the pre-qualified teams playing in them, so you typically, if it was like some sort of other open bracket, eventually you might end up against EXO or Launch or something like that, and they end up knocking you out. And there are definitely teams, because it's a qualifier with 6 days and you're going to play 4 of the possible 6. Some teams are choosing to play certain days and not others. Pants Down didn't play at all this weekend, so they're going to be doing all 4 of their games the next 2 weekends. So that's a team that the teams that played this weekend didn't run into at all. There's other teams that didn't really get run into. Direwolves, we only played on one day. We didn't play on the first day. And just a number of other things. So it really does depend. It really does depend like what kind of competition you end up going against. Typically, you're not going up against the really heavy stuff until you're getting into the last couple of games, the semi-final and the quarterfinal, I'd say. And yeah, like those are probably the really important games you have to get past. And obviously you have to win the earlier ones to even get there. Of course, you have to. It is a single elim, and that's how single elim kind of works. Though, so yeah, if it was, again, I think for me, there's not been enough games. There's not been enough yet to say if there's anybody really looking good right now. Just from the qualifiers, I mean, we've had a little bit more time to just watch some of the teams that maybe got knocked out a little bit earlier in OVO.
Yeah, I'm hearing through from Swifty that we actually have Skits on the line now. I think he's back. Is his mic working? Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
It's working. Oh,
Sorry.
we can hear him.
Don't know what happened
I was
there.
actually guessing what your mouthing was saying and hoping that it would actually like eventually come through, and then it just didn't work.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. Computer problems, I guess.
Anyways, how you going, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, for anyone who might be unfamiliar with you, obviously now that you're on Mindfreak, but give us a little intro about yourself.
Okay, well, played Counter-Strike since 1.6 and Counter-Strike Source, and then played all of Go. Did the YouTube for a while, got up to 150k subscribers on that with doing like Road to Global series and all that sort of stuff. And represented Team Australia and Sweden and back in 2018. So yeah, done a fair bit.
Through WESG, that is?
Through ROG Asus.
Okay, yep.
Yeah.
So you're kind of a big deal.
I used to be. I'm kind of old now. I'm not that big anymore.
Well, I mean, you've still got the channel to show for it. So
yeah, if the views were good, but yeah, no, I'm still like obviously, I have that milestone and the award for it and everything like that. So no, I'm pretty happy with it.
Do you still keep in touch with the guys from your CS:GO days? Do you still keep in touch with the game as much anymore?
Only the people that have transferred over to Valorant. There's a lot of people that I've gone through over the years, so I'm not really like in touch with anyone. But unless they come over to Valorant, obviously, then we have a similar interest. But that's about it.
Yeah. And how was the transition from CS:GO to Valorant for you? Obviously, they're two pretty ostensibly similar games, tactical shooters. I guess you can just substitute abilities for grenades, and that kind of gives you the utility usage, but there's still a bit of a difference when you look at the power of utility in Valorant versus in CS:GO and what they do.
Refreshing, I think is the word I'd use for it. Just because obviously I've put over 10,000 hours in Counter-Strike Global Offensive itself with multiple counts, and then obviously playing Counter-Strike in Source and all that. It was pretty easy to transfer over. Like, obviously we have the base of FPS shooter from like not like Call of Duty type, so it's pretty similar type. So that makes it a lot easier. And then obviously the abilities, I feel like it's just a whole refreshing game to play if you're really burnt out from Counter-Strike.
And I kind of wanted to check in on that as well, because you said you're a bit of an older player. You got some achievements there from Counter-Strike. You've been there since 1.6. You've done a decent amount. You've represented Australia. So what's the goal now? Like, what's left to do for you now as you're heading into the new game? Is it to try and just do it all again? Do you want to just run it through all again, the kind of achievements to try and do it in Valorant, or is there something different there? What are you really wanting to achieve in Valorant now?
It's probably early days to really be looking high, but obviously a game backed by Riot, there's going to be a lot of opportunities for us to go, any team, from like any team that wants to compete to go anywhere. Like, I'm guessing there'll be hopefully one day Worlds for Counter-Strike, Valorant. So that's probably the aim to, if we ever get like a major type thing, to be able to compete at that in the Oceania region, and then obviously further on overseas and stuff. And the team I'm with now is obviously the first big team that I wanted to work with.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Potatoes.
Oh, you go.
Sorry. Sorry. Before we get into like the nitty gritty of stuff, actually, a miscellaneous question. So, just scanning a YouTube channel, mate. Yeah. Once again, congrats for that. Your most popular video.
That was my comment warning. Continue.
Oh, I hope you're okay, mate.
No, I don't have it. It's fine.
Okay, fantastic. So your most popular video was 1.5 million, and that was the Road to Global Elite, right? Are you planning on doing anything similar for Valorant, like a Road to Radiant or something?
Nah, probably not. So there's obviously a big meme around my channel that it was pretty much built off that one video, Road to Global Elite, and there was a series that I never completed. I couldn't be stuffed because I just didn't want to play the game anymore. It was oversaturated. I was bored. And then obviously people think Road to Radiant. Dude, I can't even get Immortal 3 yet. So I'm just trying to play the game and compete at a higher level than normal. That's pretty much my focus at the moment.
I was going to say, you're going to do like a Road to Radiant, but like you're going to stop at like Diamond 2.
Yeah, I'll stop at Immortal 2 probably. But it's not really a focus. And I think Counter-Strike had probably a better ranking system at that time when I started that series. So at the moment, Valorant's pretty, like, getting Radiant doesn't seem that hard at all. So
do you think that it changed a little bit after the rank rework with Act 2?
I haven't played much actually of matchmaking, so I don't actually know what the rank rework is yet, really. Just because we've been scoring most of the time, so don't really know.
It's the best way of getting practice in. Like, how much more efficient do you find, say, focusing on your scrim blocks and VOD reviews versus playing matchmaking in your spare time?
Well, obviously scrimming is a lot more mental challenging and more of an improvement in the game for you, while matchmaking is just going to obviously be a bit of a stuff around. You'll do dumb stuff that you wouldn't do on a scrim just because you want a clip for the YouTube.
And so, what about yourself, Kevin? Obviously, you've been involved with Direwolves this season from a coaching background. It's kind of your first real time since the early days of Overwatch, or even your TF2 days, where you've been involved with scrims.
Yeah, and trust me, I get a lot of flashbacks as like, oh, this is why I don't do scrims anymore. But look, it's a lot of work. Everyone who's done it's a total grind. Full respect to the players. Back then, I mean, not trying to sound like a boomer, but like there's a lot more time and energy you can attribute towards that. Whereas now it's like, especially in NZ as well, you're scrimming pretty late for people in NZ, so it's not fun. And yeah, it's quite quite a lot to dedicate to the team as well, and especially from coaching perspective, there's even more time outside of scrims. So yeah, it's a decent amount of work. It's a decent chunk of work. So it's definitely a challenge.
And that's like not even considering, you have teams that do VOD review and stuff as well, which is something outside of the actual scrims, which, can take quite a bit. And, that type of thing can really bolster teams and push them, above certain levels. Of course, Valorant doesn't have the best sort of system for those type of things, but, well, look, over time.
Yeah, when we've been doing VOD reviews for like our uni team and stuff, we've gotten is a system where we have one guy recording each of our like window captures in Discord, and that's the VOD review. It's just the best way that we've found to do it. I don't know what everyone else uses.
Don't you just have some guy on Observer record? Why? When you just
we get that so we can get like everyone's perspective at once. So what everyone else is Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You can take that tip from me. There you go. That's one from Nightmare Twig. I'll give him a shout out. That's his idea.
It sounds like more work than, I don't know, that sounds like a lot.
Yeah, we just have our coach record us
okay.
from like our plays and stuff, and then obviously if we do anything dumb, he can just tell us back later.
Yeah.
Oh no, I tell it in real time. I need them to know straight away. I need them to understand how dumb it was instantly.
That's a scary thought. That's a scary thought.
Yeah.
So you were with Coffee in the first Ignition Series event with All the Valorant Open. Now you're with Mindfreak. How's it been joining the Mindfreak roster? You've been with them for... How long have you been with them now?
Just a few weeks. I think 3 weeks maybe now. Pretty much I played with SEAL Team 6 in earlier competitions as just a sub-in over the Arkan, I think it was. So I've already had like chemistry and a bit of fun with them prior to any like Ignition series. So joining the team and like playing with them and everything was pretty easy because I already did it.
Yeah. And how cohesive? Like, did you guys ever play together before Valorant?
No, not at all. So all 4 of them, I think it's all 4 of them, all came from Fortnite. And I've never played Fortnite in my life, and I don't.
What about Jasper OW?
Oh, sorry, yeah, Jasper's from Overwatch. My bad.
Yeah.
So and then I come from Counter-Strike, so I guess there's a bit of difference there, and they're all pretty good for Fortnite kids.
A sort of question to add on to that, because it's a cliche thing that like a lot of people do when they're analyzing Valorant. Does it sort of help having several people from different professional backgrounds molding into one team? Like, do you get like different perspectives?
Yeah, yes and no. I don't think so. Like, there's nothing that really people from Fortnite could teach anyone in Valorant, in my opinion. Like, there's nothing there aspect of that game to actually help. I obviously have the Counter-Strike knowledge, which it brings in like sort of basic strats or whatever. But I think majority from my team, at least, they've just learnt from the beta and they've just adapted to the better teams, like, and watching, games from like FaZe and all that sort of stuff, and learning from Team Launch and EXO, seeing how they play, and they just, they put in the work. So
yeah, the Fortnite players definitely turn around and build the Sage Wall very quickly. They're very good at that.
True.
So I guess what regarding your team, like how would you sort of describe your teammates there? So you got quite a few different backgrounds there, but like who's a bit of an aimer on your team, who's annoying, like who are the people on your team, if you could sort of give us a bit of an intro.
So we got Jax. He's probably the the highlight reel fragger on our team. So pretty much he's the one that pops off most of the games because he's just that type of guy. Followed by that is Lucid, who is probably our next big fragger. So he does a lot of the sniping or AWPing as well with Jax. And then we got Jasper, who's our Sage, who obviously came from Overwatch rather than Fortnite. He does that pretty well. He's probably one of the best support players I played with. And Mr. Red, who is our Cypher, majority of the games. He's just all around same deal, just confident in his aim and pretty all around easy to play with.
What's the deal with Mr. Red's name change? He was like playing on his Singed Lamau in the...
How did he spell it wrong?
Okay, so his main account, he changed in a rage in a matchmaking game. So we put him on a second account to play. But for us, it's mine for MF Mr. Red. But for some reason, if you don't have him added, his name doesn't update. So it's Singed Lamau. But he's updated
on Direwolves, Signs like he didn't even spell my name right, and I don't have any history with him, so I don't know why he's beefing with me. So I just wanted to clear things. I just wanted to clear things up a little bit.
No. Yeah, he's updated and everything, but nothing's showed up until obviously like all our names have MF in it, but no one sees that.
Yeah. I wonder what old mate Dale did to rile up Red.
Yeah,
that's the big question here. Well, let's talk about this week. Obviously, when you cut out, we chatted a little bit between ourselves about Rise of Valor. Obviously, you guys, first team to qualify from the open qualifiers to make it through to the play-in stage. Also got that first seed, which would be nice for seeding down the line. How did you guys feel about your performances this weekend?
So obviously, since I only joined about 3 weeks, I feel like we put in a lot of work just to get the qualifier. So every win that we did get, we worked over our areas that we made, and I feel like we were pretty confident of how good we were doing. And obviously now we have a lot of time to work on any areas that we made prior and we can fix. So from those games we played, we were pretty happy with how we played. And like, I think our biggest win was Rip and Tear, and that was pretty much the goal for our bracket. So now we can just look forward, I guess.
And you this like the 2 games that were on stream, which is the ones that I managed to catch myself, you both played on Haven, you were on Brim duty. You have said in the past, and I was going through your Twitter, that you're more comfortable in the things like the Omen or the Breach. Is the Brim just for you on that map, just the specific pick, so you can able to have Jax onto the Omen instead and get those double smoke lineups?
So no, we've just been playing around with things. I haven't really played Breach since the beta, honestly.
Okay.
I've just been doing mostly Omen and all that sort of stuff. We just pretty much, when I got picked up, it was for a Brimstone / Omen, which is ideally what I was after. Yep. So we just sometimes, if we can use an Omen, I might as well just play Brim, because double smoke's what our priority was for a couple of those maps. And Jax likes Omen, so it works out pretty well. But I've mostly been playing Brimstone and Omen most of the game time.
Do you feel like, just speaking of roles a little bit, do you feel like you had to kind of slot into the team a little bit more, or have things changed a little bit more where, you obviously have a little bit more of leadership in the team, you've said you with IGL and stuff, so are you kind of trying to evolve the team and mold it around what you're bringing to the table a little bit more, or did you find that you had to kind of fit around what the team needed at the time?
So I feel like I did have to change a little bit, but not much, because the reason is these guys already have the chemistry between each other. They're already a good team. They've already won comps. So when I came in, I sort of didn't know what the go was. And we were sort of losing, like, for example, we were losing a scrim, and I sort of had to pause the game and tell them, like, what the hell's going on, and pretty much let these guys know what we should just be doing as a basic scrim. So we ended up doing a lot more of that and making me talk a lot more. And I guess they like a bit of, common ground where I can tell them what a basic play should be like, and then they just roll with it, because they already have the chemistry. They hardly even need to talk to each other. But when I come in, I was a bit clueless at the start.
One of the things that I'm actually curious about as well is because, like, every different team has like a different structure between like communication, and obviously with you being an IGL of sorts, how does that work in terms of your team dynamic? Because you have some teams who have like one overbearing voice, some teams everyone has the sort of say. How do you like reflect on that with your team?
So what we've noticed recently is when we're in a hard spot, I can voice up and I have no issue with that, because I get frustrated and I want to make sure everything's going to plan. But if we're doing really well, or one of the boys have an idea, or they're really hyped and they can just talk, I just let it go. Like they're like Lucid sometimes goes off and just takes over the IGL role because he's in the mode where he can do it, and it usually works. So I really, majority of the time it'll be me, but if it's only we're like really struggling, and then if anyone's just feeling hyped and they have a strat or a plan, we just go off like that.
Yeah, and it's different for every team. Like, every team just has to find that balance eventually.
Yeah.
I'm sure that Direwolves for Kev has a different strategy. You have a different strategy. My uni team has a different strategy. Everyone just does it differently. It's just finding out what synergistically works for you guys. One question I want to talk about, pivoting towards the Ignition series as a whole, is looking at Oceania. We've had a lot of open qualifier events. We've had OVO and this, both open qualifiers. Whereas you look at some other regions like NA and EU, and it's been predominantly invite-based. Do you think that the open qualifier system has helped or potentially hindered like Valorant in the region?
I think it's fine at the moment, especially with being a brand new game. It's still in the early days, like I said. So I'm happy with the open qualifiers and all that sort of stuff. But when obviously, the game degrades a bit where we have obviously the top tier teams, then I feel like the invite system could come in later.
Do you have a basic, do you have like a conception yourself of what that top echelon of Valorant looks like in Oceania so far, or do you think it's still ironing itself out?
I believe it's still ironing itself out, just because there hasn't been that many comps that we can you already know who's who, and I feel like there's still a lot of organizations to come into Valorant to pick up the proper teams that want to compete at a higher level. So once that's sorted, which could be after this series for all we know, I feel like then we could probably move along to that line of play.
Do you guys have Avril, Kevin, Avril and Kevin, same person? Avril and Racket, do you have any thoughts on some sort of power ranking that's sort of ironing itself out in Oceanic Valorant so far?
Yeah, but I mean, this is a tough one. It's like how do you navigate
Dire Wars number one.
Scratch that.
Yeah, so Dire Wars number no. I don't know.
Ignoring your own teams.
I think all the top OVO teams are obviously still very good right now. I'm still on the lookout to see what kind of new teams could be kind of challenging that. So I guess that's kind of what Rise of Ella is going to be doing as well. Is just going to be bringing to light, okay, who are the new challenger type teams that are going to really start to take it up against the current OVO teams, because it's like the OVO teams have been together for longer, they've had more practice, they've had more experience, they've been scrimming for longer as well, so they obviously have that advantage. I'll be interested to see what the new teams coming through from Rise of Valor can do in that regard. I don't know how new they are. Like, they could just be reformed teams from some of the other OVO teams, because really we only paid attention to mostly the top 16 in OVO. Beyond that, there might be teams that didn't perhaps got unlucky, or they weren't quite in the right space, didn't quite have the right members. Maybe they need to shuffle a little bit to get the good members onto the same team together, and then they'll be able to really compete. So there is definitely room for a lot more teams to come through and really challenge the more known quantities that we have so far.
That's a really good point. I think as well, you need to take into consideration, like, we know what the known quantities are and the performances that we've seen from the previous tournament, and of course that has transitioned into the invitations of the teams getting there. But we've already seen a couple upsets in the open already, and it's the best time for that
to happen. You don't have to call me
right?
out, mate. That's okay.
Not pointing any fingers, mate. But yeah, I mean, it is the best time to have an upset, right? It is the beginning of the game. You haven't had too many tournaments for an official establishment of names, and of course you just mentioned before that orgs are getting in. So if you do want to have an upset, if Youngblood's getting into the scene, I mean, this is the time to do it, right? When maybe a meta is developing. Of course, we have a new agent, which we'll talk about shortly. There's a bunch of different variables, right? Of course, saying that they are going to be doing frequent updates. There's a bunch of different considerations, and if you get your feet in the water earlier, then you have a better chance of doing stuff.
Racket alluded to the fact that we'll be talking about agents shortly, and why don't we just bring her into the conversation right now? Why don't we bring up the wonderful enigma that is Killjoy? Obviously disabled in Rise of Valor for, I think, the entire tournament. I could be wrong on that one.
Not the entire tournament.
Oh, just the open qualifier in for plan? Is that how it works?
It says will continue to be banned until we have received sign off from Riot that she is suitable for competitive play. So it just until they feel like it's fine, I guess, is what it looks like to me.
Yeah. So how have you guys practiced with Killjoy before she was eventually banned, Skits? What are your initial thoughts on her?
Yeah, so we've definitely been using her. Obviously, we didn't have to use it for the qualifiers. We had Jet, rather. Yeah. But we've been scrimming with her a fair bit. And I feel like she's a bit broken. Being able to put her swarms on the bomb when it's diffused, or planted. Rather than that, though, she's a really solid character, and I think we've been using her for all our scrims at the moment just because she's that strong. She's not a Reina. She definitely is useful for info and all that sort of stuff.
Do you find that she's filling out more of like a flex role rather than just like she can be plunked in for any one agent in a team comp? It doesn't necessarily be like, oh, she's a Cypher replacement or she's a replacement for XYZ.
Yeah, she's very flexible. You could take a Cypher, you could take out a Fragger for her because obviously you have that that util that she uses, and obviously her ulti makes it a lot easier to take sites or defend a site. So she's very flexible to what you want to take out.
Her ulti, holy shit! It is when you hear that, you hear the alarm go off, and it's just like sirens blazing out on the bomb site. You're like, oh god.
Yeah, I don't mind the ulti. I think the ulti's fine. I just think the swarms, to be able to like put 2 swarms on the bomb and then someone's trying to defuse it, you pop one from across the map and they kill them really quickly, and then you pop another one. We've run a lot of rounds just from like Lucid sitting across the map just pressing F. So I reckon that could do it for a bit of a nerf or change or something.
That is the ironic thing, right? It's like the initial release, and when people started seeing the agent, everyone immediately looked towards the turret to be the most overpowered thing. But like Skits, the Molotov wins you so many rounds because there are so many maps where there are perfect spots for post-plant scenarios where you can just slide it in and they have to worry about that. And you don't even need to be near, right? That's a scary thing. You could be on the other side of the map. You could be on your phone sending a message or whatever. And you're like, oh, right there. I can hear the beep, beep. And then you just press the button. It's hilarious.
Yeah, the turret's really weak. Like, it's good for info. Obviously, if anyone's pushing behind, and it's got a good radius of aiming and everything. But obviously, when it shoots you, it does actual no damage, from what I can tell. And like when you got a combo of like Brimstone's Molly, so I popped that down for a lineup, and then you got 2 more swarms.
Oh.
Like that's pretty much half the bombs, timer going off.
So the turret only does 12 damage, and that's part of the issue. It needs to be more threatening, and I hate advocating for increasing the turret damage. Maybe you don't do that, but there needs to be something else here. Like, I don't want the answer to be, oh, the turret needs to do more damage, because everyone will hate that. I will hate that. That's awful. But right now, the turret's not threatening at all. It's like it pings you for 12 damage to let you know it's there, and then that's it. It's basically like a Cypher camera that shoots you that you don't control. That's really what it is right now. That's what the turret is.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of a laugh, the turret, honestly. It does tank a bit of damage, like appreciate that. It tanks like a full HP bar, like a full 150 HP worth of damage. So that can be useful for some interesting things. Like it does force like teams to kind of address it like another player. Not necessarily immediately, because again, 12 damage is not really impactful enough unless like that's the 12 damage that ends up killing you. The turret will basically never kill you pretty much unless you're ridiculously low and you had no idea a turret was there. But I honestly think Killjoy is pretty counterable. I don't actually think she's that good personally. I think she's okay. I think she's good when people don't know how to play against her, but I got a pretty extensive like idea of like all the possible counterplays right now. So if anyone runs a Killjoy against Direwolves, I don't think it'll work very well. I just don't think I think she's got too many tells. She's like a Cypher, but even easier to counter, in my opinion.
Those are some fighting words.
Oh,
Those are some real
nice.
fighting words.
Well, someone clip that, and if someone has a Killjoy against Direwolves...
I mean, we already scrimmed
the
the top team that had a Killjoy, and let's just say that didn't go well, so...
Oh, that's a flex.
Okay.
That's a flex. Look at him go. Do you think that Killjoy needs nerfs, SkitzMACHINE, or buffs potentially, like turret damage buffs?
I think the turret's fine. I think it's more of an information thing rather than trying to get a free kill out of a turret. That's my opinion, because I personally don't like the idea of like abilities getting kills, but obviously that's in the game no matter what. I feel like the only issue that Killjoy has is the swarms being able to like put 2 down like that. Yeah. But I do know that you can shoot the swarms. Obviously, as Avril said, if you're more of a knowledgeable team, you can probably just shoot them out and break them, so you don't have to deal with that. But at the moment, from what we've seen, you could just sit there across the map and press F.
The problem is, like, all of her kit, like, very similar to Cypher, she has to put it all down, pretty much realistically has to put them down beforehand. And yeah, some of it you can recall, and I guess the benefit is you can recall them anywhere on the map. I don't know if people know that, but you can be literally across the map and recall your turret and use it again in 20 seconds. So that's pretty cool, but other than that, like, similar to Cypher, because you have to put it down beforehand, if that game plan doesn't work out and they don't play into that, then you have kind of screwed yourself a little bit. Whereas the kind of characters that can react to things and then play util, then use things, seem to me maybe a little bit better. I think eventually teams are not going to be pre-placing nanoswarms. They're going to be holding on to them and using them as regular Molotovs, because that's probably going to get you a bit more success. Similar to just using cages as regular smokes, you throw them as smokes rather than just putting them down somewhere, as teams get more comfortable and more knowledgeable about what the counterplay looks like. But as of right now, I just think, like, teams don't really understand the kit fully, but I think give it just even a small amount of time and she'll be in meta slightly and then she'll be out of meta completely. I don't really see her being long-term unless the turret becomes really good, or unless some of her kit that is currently very counterable becomes less counterable.
Fair enough.
Wonderful analysis there. Thank you very much, Kevin. Now, let's get into something a bit fun and interesting. I call this the fun segment. I've definitely not stolen this name from another Snowball show that we do, called the Snowball Show, but it is a segment where we do fun things. And so, SkitzMACHINE.
Yes.
Riot Morello's in your DMs. He's right, all right. We're looking to make new agents. But before we can make new agents, we have to remove an agent because your agent's going to be replacing this one. What agent are you removing from the game entirely?
Reyna.
That was very quick.
She's pointless. She's the most pointless agent I've seen. So, yeah, Reyna for sure.
Oh, I thought you were going to remove something you thought was going to be annoying, but you did the altruistic thing. You just removed something that was just kind of pointless that no one was going to play, that wasn't going to affect the game too much.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas I'm chaotic. I'm going to remove something that's going to ruin the game. So, like,
do you think that, like, Reyna's kit could be salvaged in a way? Like, obviously that you think that she's pointless now. Is there a way that her kit becomes decent in the future?
No, I mean, like, unless you got someone that's just really, like, good at fragging and using that person, and it's like she's like literally the best player in the game, then yeah, sure. But from my understanding, like, it's more of a selfish character, and it's just really not as hyped as most people think she is when they say Reyna's OP.
I got a fix. Make the lair untargetable. You can't shoot it, but it doesn't last as long.
I like it.
Yeah.
That to me fixes it, because, like, right now her flashes, and don't let them be shown on the minimap. I don't understand that. Like, that just makes her so much less viable. You just, wherever she flashes, you know where she is, and then you can just shoot the flashes. If you're actually in an engagement in any sort of gunfight, and a flash comes out and just a couple of shots kills it, it's so pointless. So it needs to be untargetable, but it needs to not last as long, because otherwise it'll be broken. And then it will probably be somewhat on par, or it could be in contention with Omen's flash, which I think is the best flash in the game right now. And then she'll be pretty good. The rest of her kit is still pretty average, which makes her basically like she's basically like an Omen that can double flash, but the rest of the kit's pretty garbage. So that to me seems a little bit more balanced.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Any thoughts, Racket?
Yeah, I think when you made an initial reaction towards Reyna, for one of your earlier tweets, you mentioned this, but, like, she requires a condition in order for her kit to work. Like, you can use her flashbangs, sure. Like, you don't need a condition for that to be used. But with her other abilities, you need kills in order for it to work. So she effectively has less abilities than other agents. And I mean, you said it as well, Skits. Like, there's no way she's better than any other agent unless, like, you are so much better than everyone else. And if people have, like, played card games, like, I'd relate it to, like, a win more card, right? I agree. You know what? Get rid of Reyna.
I got another fix. Make her Q and E available for assists as well. So if you have an assist, you can also use her other abilities. but they have a lesser degree of effectiveness, so maybe half. So maybe the dismiss only lasts half as long, or you only heal for half as much on an assist. But I feel like having to get the kill means even if your team's doing well and you get KS by your own teammate, that screws you as a Reyna player. And I don't think that's quite fair. I think she should get something off an assist, personally.
When's Right Morella hiring you? You sound like you've got all the fixes for the game.
Wait till you hear what I'm banning and what I'm introducing the game to. Then my CV is going straight in the mail.
All right. Well, Skits, Morella's taken your advice on board. He's gone, all right, Reyna's out of the game. She's gone. She's disappeared. She's gone back to wherever the hell she came from. Now, to replace her, you need to find someone else. You need to scour future Earth for another agent. What kind of agent are you putting into Valorant?
It's called the SkitzMACHINE.
That's the hardest question you could ever ask me. Oh, no. Far out. I don't know. That's a really hard question because, like, we already have flashes. We already have stuns. We already have teleporting. I don't know. That's a hard question, dude.
I've been thinking about this for a while. So I've always had, and it's been like this since actually the Killjoy announcement, was I wanted to be like I want there to be like an IQ-esque operator. So like IQ from Siege, she can detect gadgets laying around with like a pistol cam that she can then shoot them with. I want something similar to that, where players will be able to, through walls, potentially spot cipher cameras or tripwires, other utility. IQ saying is if it runs on batteries, I'll see it. So it can be certain kinds of utility that say cipher plates down or Killjoy places down that were before someone attacks a bomb site, they can see. Now, obviously, like IQ's scanner only has a range of about like 20 meters, I think, in Siege. So say it wouldn't cover from like C long on Haven all the way through to like default boxes, like on from T side to CT side. But I think that an IQS operator would actually fit quite nicely into Valorant right now.
I go on for you, Skits. This is perfect for you and your background. It's called the Counter Striker, and it's a CT FBI or a Jigen, whatever you want. SEAL Team 6 guy. Yeah, there you go. It's the SEAL Team 6 guy. And he's got one of each grenade from Counter-Strike. So you got one smoke, one incendiary, one flash, one decoy, one HE. I don't know why there's a decoy, but just do it. That's actually too many buttons. So maybe the decoy, maybe some of those are attached together. It's just, to make there less buttons to use. And then the ultimate is you just refresh one of each grenade. You get one grenade back from all of them. You just get all the one grenade back. So that's the ultimate. It's the Counter Strike. You're basically your two dudes from Counter Strike, and yeah, that's it.
I can't say I'll back that one because that'd just be ridiculous. Although
ridiculously fun for the fun. It's so fun.
Yeah, for the casuals. Although on that note, though, a decoy would probably not be terrible for a character of some sort. Like we have no sort of decoys unless you do some like. You actually do a play to fake out something. We don't really have a decoy ability to fake out something.
You can just throw a Reyna eye, bro. They see it on the minimap.
It's not really a decoy, though. That's a flashbang.
But she's out of the game now as well anyway.
She should put out a fake eye. With her? Yeah, the decoy for Reyna, she's put out some fake eye and it just winks at you.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, actually, I think the decoy ability would be pretty cool. Like, if you guys ever played like Apex Legends with like Mirage, for example,
yep,
something like that perhaps would be pretty cool. I mean, that wouldn't be as powerful considering how sort of like it looks very obvious, I suppose. But if you can integrate that into Valorant in a more unique way, I suppose that could be maybe a cool idea for Riot to do.
No, I agree. No, I don't know. Maybe something like if you have like a decoy person like Mirage from Apex, you could do it like throw them in bathroom. There's footsteps that they're hearing, and then
Oh, you're right. Yeah, the noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm just wondering, like, why don't we have someone like Mirage's, like someone with Mirage's voice lines in Valorant now? We need more of that. We've got Jet telling people they're little shits, but like now we need like some potentially. I mean, he's American, but we could do some Aussie action in there.
I feel like Phoenix has enough ego for all the characters anyway. So.
Can we delete Phoenix just for the voice lines? Like, he's the worst voice lines in the game, I swear to God.
All right. we'll wrap this up now, but I want to ask you one final question, SkitzMACHINE. What are your hopes for Oceanic Valorant in the future? What do you think the scene needs to thrive?
Definitely, we need to be backed by Riot, which I think we already are, which is pretty good start. I feel like we just need to do what we did with Counter-Strike and get, obviously, our best teams overseas as much as possible to put our name on the map, because we're obviously going to get overlooked from like NA and EU, and we probably already are in a general term. So as long as we got our best teams competing and already versing teams from overseas, or have organizations backing us players to go overseas and that sort of stuff, I feel like that's going to get us on the map, and probably, our better teams to be competing with T1 and stuff. And I think that's the majority of what we just need to do for the scene, because we already have our Ignition series that we're playing around with. And we'll just see how we go then. I think it's early days, so we'll have to see how we go in a few months, I'd say.
I know I said one last question, but you actually brought up something that I thought I'm going to ask again, and this now can be your one last question, is who do you think the best team in the world is right now? Obviously, you brought up like playing against the likes of T1. Who would you like, if you were to like throw in anywhere in the world, you could play them in a best of 3, who would you love to play against?
Probably T1, just because of the Counter-Strike players, but the best team I think is TSM at the moment. So, but T1 would be the more enjoyable game.
You'd be a bit of a Scar fan, bit of a Brax fan.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on SkitzMACHINE. If you want, plug your socials, plug Mindfreak. I can see Brad in chat; he'll be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, just a quick shout out to Mindfreak, obviously, for picking up the boys, and hopefully we can do some winning. And thanks to Logitech as well, because they're actually pretty good in sponsoring us and supporting us already. So yeah, that's about it.
Beautiful. Well, you can find SkitzMACHINE on Twitter. His Twitter handle is below his name, at the SkitzMACHINE. He's obviously got that YouTube channel where hopefully he'll upload some more Valorant highlights. Who knows? Or maybe he might finish his road to global. We don't know yet.
It's not going to happen.
Not going to happen? All right. Well, I'm waiting for Road to Radiant then. I know you said you weren't going to do it, but who knows? You could get another 1.5 million views. Work your way towards the next play button.
Maybe not.
Alrighty, beautiful. Thank you so much, SkitzMACHINE, for joining us. Have a great night, man.
Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good one.
Cheers.
Thank you.
And then there were 3. It's like the start again.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Doggy. Road to Radiant, if that was like a series, man, Plex would have a movie franchise. He's up to 8 now. Like
he's up to 8.
Like 8th one in the series. So I don't know. That's the rumor. So it's, for some people, I don't know what it is. It's just like Radiant's just, they're just coming. They're just showing up. But for other people, you can be like on a 12-game win streak on Immortal 3 and you won't get it for whatever reason.
Riot just doesn't love you then at that point, I think.
I don't know. Yeah, they flagged your account as like never Radiant. That's what it is.
I thought like because I'm a bit of a Wardell fan. I love watching Wardell's YouTube videos.
Oh,
I love it when he stands up and he's the same height. The Mr. 5-foot god himself. But like, he's got 5 Radiant accounts, and I think he's on his way to his 6th. That is just bonkers to me. Like, it's just, how? How are you so good?
Win a lot of games and do extremely well.
Ah,
Be Wardell, be good.
shit,
Great
Kevin.
advice, April.
I want to say, I don't know how much, I want to add in something really quickly here, Ducky, because it is kind of fun, but honestly, I would actually remove Sage from the game. And the reason I want to remove Sage is because she's been the most troublesome character since basically the inception of the game. Well, we'll say from the closed beta, really. That's when the public really got their hands on it. And she's basically been meta since then. And she's been the heaviest targeted character in terms of nerfs, in terms of addressing the kit. And the problem is the kit is just it's too unique in what it does and too effective in what it does. And that's why she's been heavily targeted. Her wall's been targeted, the slows have been targeted, the heal's been targeted. The only thing that's not been targeted has been the res. And even then, I think the res is a bit of it's a boring mechanic. I just don't think it belongs in the game personally. I'm not a fan of the heal mechanics in the game. I don't mind Reyna's heal, maybe Phoenix's heal, because at least that is something that is a bit more costly. For Phoenix, it means you're using util on yourself. Your own, for Reyna, it does mean you have to be doing well in the game. You have to be hitting those shots, getting those kills, and they have to be your kills. But for Sage, it just feels like it's a little too easy. It's a little too It's hard to punish as well. It's like, you tag someone down, and really you should be able to work with that. But, with Sage on the field, it kind of just nullifies work you do through there. And yeah, just her abilities are just troublesome. There's no character in the game that can challenge that. There's nobody else that does a slow. You used to have cyber cages that you had to slow before, so that was kind of a challenge, but that was deemed a problem in and of itself, because it's basically a Sage slow that's also a smoke. That's definitely not a fun thing to have. So I think the slow in the game is just, in general, not a fun mechanic. It's just not good. And the slows in the wall, like, because nothing else is there that can really challenge that util, you almost feel like you want to have a Sage for those. But then the answer is, from a game design perspective, well, do you then make other characters available that can challenge the util? Do you then introduce another agent in the game that can maybe put up a wall or do a slow or doing something similar? And while that would push away Sage potentially from the meta, you just replace it with Sage version 2, and that's not any more fun. But that's the issue.
Or you partner the two together.
The day is
you would then at that point just have 2 Sages on a team. And if one Sage wasn't terrible,
you could have 2 Sages. It's just not. It's less fun. So, in my opinion,
that would happen.
If you literally just got rid of Sage or just reworked your kit, I think the game would actually be a little bit more fun and more healthier to play, especially from a competitive meta standpoint. I feel like my argument should make sense. It's just not a fun thing to have in the game, personally.
Well, I would like to agree with you, but at the same time, I enjoy playing Sage. So please,
wait, Morello, please, Morello, I got one thing for you. I want to introduce. Here's my Sage counter. This is what I'm putting in the game instead of Sage. I am putting in this brand new agent into the game. Never been done before. You've never seen this before. Her name is Caitlyn. What she does is, so one of her abilities, she kind of throws this blade-looking thing in a straight line direction. It does some amount of damage. I don't really know what. She puts down this trap on the ground, and if you walk on it, you get stuck. And you get revealed. So it's kind of like a Cypher trap, except it's a little bit more instantaneous. She's got this other thing where she can throw a net at you, just not through the gun, just physically just chucks it at you, and then it's slows you and stuff. And then her ultimate, she can target anyone on the map for 100 damage. But if your ally gets in the way, they can take the 100 damage. So it'll kill you if you don't have armor, but anyone with armor actually can survive that. It just does a decent amount of damage. But guess this is the best part, Ducky. Her passive allows you to headshot with the guns.
Still better
is that a
than
subtle
center.
flavor thing, mate? Are you trying to tell me something?
The crossover one.
Actually, hold up. I'm gonna change. I'm gonna watch changes. If after you land 6, I don't know, it's 5 or 6 shots on an enemy, the 6th shot or the next shot is a guaranteed headshot, no matter where on the body. It's guaranteed.
I think you're just pandering to the League player in me.
You know
here.
what?
Yeah.
I feel like this is exactly what you're doing.
Outrageous. That sounds broken. You're hired.
Would it be the first balance? It would be the first poor decision, right? Balancing team made.
I actually think the ultimate. Does no
years.
one else think the ultimate actually is kind of interesting? It's okay, think about this. You can target anyone on the map. It doesn't reveal them. You just, I don't know, maybe you bring up an iPad like Brim and you just select someone to target, and you just straight up pick them, just boom, target, and it's just after 2 or 3 seconds, just fires a shot that does 100 damage. And now that's not an absurd amount, it is, but it's not, because in the overall course of the game, that won't kill you. It'll put you down at 50 HP if you got full armor. But let's say you actually have tagged someone, you just want to finish them off. That's actually pretty big, and it can just net you a kill. I think it's a really balanced ability, and it's just a guaranteed way to land damage someone. It actually feels out of everything that I memed about, that actually feels to me the most plausible thing.
I'm going to have to agree to disagree, but I love your enthusiasm.
Morello, please, Morello, help me out.
All right.
I don't know, man.
Well, I think that we know that you're not getting hired at Riot for now, Avril. You had a good one. You had a good one with Reyna, and now you've had an absolute stinker with Caitlyn. But who knows? We've got to fill out a cast of characters like League of Legends does, presumably. Maybe she will be.
No, you don't. No, you don't. Why do you need to do that? To do that, you would have to have so many overlapping characters that do very similar things. 100, you do not need 100 agents. I think it's very similar to an Overwatch thing. But here's the thing: if you actually want unique agents that do things that don't feel like it's just the rehash of another character, it's like Overwatch, you're gonna have like 30 or 40 maybe, but you're not gonna have like 100, because in 100 there's gonna be so much overlap, and you already have overlap. Like, how many different versions of smokes and flashes are you gonna get? Like, there's already a lot of overlap. So how much more overlap is there gonna be before everything is just like homogenizes into like one character?
That's fair. Like,
Yeah.
I guess we just got to wait and see. Obviously, they're now running on a 6 agents per year schedule. So I guess,
fair.
we'll see where we are at the end of 2021. Anyways, before we wrap up tonight, I'd like to take us on a journey a little bit around the globe. So, in Around the Globe, we'd like to talk about what's happening around the globe in Valorant. Let's run this off from the top. The biggest news over the weekend was that TSM won the FaZe Clan Invitational. They took down Sentinels 3-2 in an absolute nail-biter of the series that, if you haven't seen it, you should probably go and watch. Although we would advocate for you to watch Rise of Valor first, because Oceanic deserves viewership. But did you guys manage to catch the Sentinels TSM series? Thoughts on it?
Yes.
Which one? Which series? They played 2 series and they were both really good.
We're talking about the grand final here. Obviously, TSM won the upper bracket final 2-0. But the grand final is the one that we're talking about.
I mean, it was sick. It was a nail biter. The thing that I enjoy about both of those teams is they have like clear identities, and at the same time they can adapt in game, because they've obviously played each other so many times, right? And I was watching like Sideshow on YouTube, like some of like the counter strats that both of these teams were doing. It's really, really cool, the sort of chess match that both of these teams were constantly going through, and not exactly like playing to their own strengths as well. With the Jet obviously being so effective with the operator, Waddell just got so many ridiculous picks at the start of almost every single fight, which like every single round felt like a 4v5 almost, which is ridiculous to like comprehend for the series to still go that close considering. But yeah, it's something to nerd out on, certainly.
I think the storyline of the rivalry is really fun, because at first it feels like, okay, are people just kind of like playing it up? People are saying rivalry, but is it true? Because basically Sentinels have realistically just been beating TSM a lot and not really the other way around. But now that TSM have beaten them twice in the upper bracket and the grand finals, it starts to feel like a bit more of an actual rivalry. And now the games in future have a lot more riding on them, because it's a lot more of an even type of rivalry where both teams are about equally as good. They can both take games off each other on any given day. One of these two teams could win or lose, and that's quite exciting. So yeah, I think continuing this rivalry would be really fun. And obviously, big fan of Sentinels here. They got a lot of Overwatch players on that team. And I always got to, look out there and say, those guys doing well makes me feel really good as well. And it just kind of really proves that coming into this game, people, different backgrounds, coming through from different FPSs can do really well in the game. This is not just like a CSGO clone. Well, I mean, it's a very similar game to CSGO, but it's not like, you come from CSGO, you're just going to be, necessarily the best straight away. You can look at Sinatra, you can look at Zoms and stuff, and you can say, Corey as well. You can say like, the Overwatch guys can hang.
Yeah. Obviously, that was happening in NA. Over in EU, not many tournaments to write home about yet. They're all starting up in the coming weeks and days. But the big news over there was Team Liquid has signed the Fish 123 roster minus Artis plus Scream. Obviously, Artis over now at G2. And G2 is obviously dominating pretty much everything in Europe when you have a look through Liquipedia or ValGG, wherever you get your news. It's just G2 win, G2 win. How do you think this Team Liquid roster is going to stack up against G2? Do you think they have what it takes to potentially take them down? I personally think that G2 has set themselves as the definitive best team in EU right now. When you look at the level of talent that they've got with Mixwell and Artis and all the other guys, they're a very, very exciting team. And I think they're also trying to define the meta itself, not just in EU, but it's also flowing on into other regions. Mm-hmm. And replacing Artis with Scream, I wouldn't call it necessarily a side grade, but I wouldn't necessarily call it an upgrade or a downgrade. Obviously, Scream brings his "they know me for my one taps" kind of potential, but I think Artis brought more to that team in terms of utility usage as well.
And now you have Artis playing on G2, so and debatably, or maybe not debatably, looking at results, that's been an improvement for him. So G2 has obviously been a huge team.
Yeah.
Mixwell is Scream's ex-teammate as well, coming through from the old Prodigy days, so we already knew that Mixwell was going to be a very, very good player.
Yep.
G2 is pretty stacked. Obviously, question marks to start with, being like, okay, well, how's this going to mix together? But as it pans out, it's a very dominant-looking team, and EU, for that reason, it's kind of maybe... we'll see how it goes, because if G2 just continue dominating, EU is not quite as interesting in terms of the storylines until someone can beat G2. And we'll have to see if Liquid can be that team. But Liquid, I think, the Fish 1-2-3 roster have not really found the same level of success since the beta and maybe the early days of release, since Artis left, realistically. So that Fish 1-2-3 / Team Liquid roster is now going to have to really see what they can do. But, you know, Nitro's on the LFT and he was just part of Liquid, so maybe they can link up. Who knows?
That is it's sort of weird to like conceptualize as well. I haven't caught up too much in EU. I caught up on NA recently, but when you're so dominant as a team, it's difficult to like gauge how strong they really are, because they're not really like being challenged too much. Is it like, are these guys so much better than everyone else, or is like is there not enough competition necessarily? You know, like there are different opposing philosophies when it comes to that thing, and you don't really get to gauge how really good they are until they get consistently challenged.
Yep. Well, it's only just a matter of time now. I think there's an Ignition Series event coming up this week. In fact, there is, because I can tell it to you now as we wrap up the show for tonight. In the week ahead, just going to run through a couple of the big events that you should probably keep an eye out for at home and abroad as well. At home, if you're looking to play in something, the Summoner Side Community Circuit is on Thursday night at 6 p.m. AEST. You can sign yourself up for that. More details are on their Twitter page. Rise of Valor is returning for week 2 on Saturday and Sunday, August 15th and 16th, starting from 12 p.m. AEST. I'm pretty sure signups are still open, so if you want to nab in a team for the open qualifiers, you have to get in very, very quick. But if not, you can still tune into the action on twitch.tv/FortressMelb. Over in EU, we've got the Allied Esports Odyssey Ignition Series event, which is a 16 round robin starting on August 12th. You can catch the action from 2 a.m. AEST. If you are an early bird or late to go to bed, that will definitely be suitable for you. G2, Ninjas in Pajamas, Liquid, Giants, Zip and Go Kill, and BBL Esports are in that team, in that competition. So be sure to get that a watch. That's all the best names in EU right now. And finally, we've got the Pittsburgh Knights Scotland Series kicking off over the weekend. 5 of the 16 teams have been confirmed: T1, TSM, Sentinels, and NB and Gen G. 3 more invitees will be brought along, as well as some people making it through the open qualifiers. That also kicks off on August 16, and that's the week ahead in Valorant. So between now and next Tuesday, there'll be plenty to watch. But until next Tuesday, it's going to be goodbye from me. Goodbye from everyone. Goodbye from Racket. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to check out snowballesports.com for all the latest Valorant content in Oceania, including news and interviews. And we hope to see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, everyone.
See ya. Thank you.
For the same as I on the phone, and through my tainted eyes I can see you by my side. I'm feeling like you played my mind all along. How could you fake it when you knew I was naked?